Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Pytel with VASS. Welcome to our podcast series talking about real business value, lead to cash in action. This podcast series is focused on that integrated business suite, right? So integrating Sales Service Cloud with Cloud ERP and the benefits that customers can get by having this sort of integrated solution. And today's topic specifically is how connected CX creates loyal customers, happier teams. And I think that happier team statement is internal teams and external teams. But as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sheldon. Sheldon, welcome to the pod.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Sheldon Lipschitz. I'm the Senior Director of Solution Engineering at VASS.
Fantastic. And we are joined today by Melvin Powell. Melvin, welcome. Thank you so much.
Oh, so excited to be here. I'm Melvin Powell. I'm an RVP for CX. Been at SAP for 18 years, so really excited about being able to talk about this.
Let's talk about your experience at SAP for 18 years. Just for the audience, just to think through, this is SAP ERP, right? This is ERP 5, ERP 6, getting into S4. What areas of SAP and the organization have you been around and worked in?
Yeah, well, I was a AE, enterprise AE, so selling ERP for 11, 12 years in the utility space. Then I moved up and ran the team for CPG for about 3 or 4 years. And the last 3 years, I've been in CX. And quite honestly, nothing has been more exciting in the value that we can bring to the table now for CX. So we want to offer a lot more to those SAP customers and show exactly the value you can get from it all working together.
And I think we wanted Melvin here on the pod today, not only because of the CX experience, but you get to talk to just so many different customers. You get to see so many different scenarios. And some of our audience members, they work for an organization and they haven't had exposure to those different organizations, those different environments. And they haven't seen what's available. They only kind of know what's in their current ecosystem. So thank you again for joining us. The first thing I wanted to talk about is talking about siloed sales and service. And so for myself, always been in the ERP space, always supported ERP in large enterprises. And when I looked at, and Sheldon and I joke about this, the sales and service team, we kind of put them at the little kids table at Thanksgiving, right? You have a large ERP project, you have sales and service team members represented, and CRM may not be SAP CRM. Maybe it's Salesforce, maybe it's HubSpot, and they're kind of a siloed team. And Melvin, I wonder if you could share just from your experience, when we silo that sales and service team into their own solution in their own solution area, and it's not pre-integrated ERP, what are some of the side effects?
Well, the first side effect is really being able to get all the information that you need, right? If you look at the ERP has a ton of valuable information. And we're very respectful of Salesforce or HubSpot or any of those companies that are out there. But what you end up doing is having isolated information and not putting your salespeople in the position to do the best thing that they can, right? Because they don't have all the information associated with their customer. And so you have all these different systems. You might have an ERP system, you might have a marketing system, you might have all these different channels that a person can potentially, do business with you. But yet, if you have one of those systems and it's not truly integrated effectively, then you're stuck and there's information and sometimes some bad decisions are made because of that.
There can be an awkward start-stop in business process. It's not seamless. And now, Sheldon, we throw around the word CX easily in our office environment because that's what you and I work on. Can you explain to the audience real quick, at a high level, what are the CX solutions?
So CX stands for customer experience, right? And it's SAP has, I would say, about 6 solutions encompassing in the customer experience area. The first one is SAP Commerce, which is, the name already says it all. It's an e-commerce solution. You have a Sales Cloud, which is a CRM solution on the cloud that allows sales teams to be able to go from lead all the way to the creation of an order, if that's what's in their business process. You have Service Cloud, which allows you to receive or create service tickets, even integrate with another tool called Field Service Management, which allows you to send agents into specific locations in order to repair products or repair equipment, if you will. And then you have the Emarsis product and the Customer Data Platform product, which are, I would say, more on the marketing side. Where you can, with Customer Data Platform, you can really get that sense of the 360 view of a customer and not only have insights about, what they like to buy, but you're able to understand a little bit of which are the different types of channels, like Melvin was mentioning before, where they interact with your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to see that holistic 360 view of your customer if you're using a product like that. So those are, I would say, the key products when it comes to CX. And there are different add-ons. Like, for instance, there's an add-on called SAP CPQ, or Configure, Price, and Quote, which plays very nicely and well when you integrate it with a solution like Sales Cloud or a solution like SAP CPQ, when you want customers to go online and be able to, request a quote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different add-on solutions that you're able to bring into this wheelhouse of tools that SAP provides to customers.
So it's fair to say, I mean, these CX solutions are the frontline communication platforms with our end customers. Whether it's in service, where I'm an insurance company and I'm receiving support requests, or a manufacturing company making a widget and people need to get support on their widget. That's Sales and Cloud, Service Cloud, FSM. These are those frontline solutions. Now, Melvin, I think probably 10 years ago, no CIO would ever be faulted for buying a solution if it was in the Magic Quadrant, best of breed. I'm going to do best of breed, and I'll worry about integrating it later. What has been the side effect of buying only best of breed and then worrying about integrating it later?
Well, isolation, right? I mean, you just mentioned customer 360. I mean, the reality is that we don't say CRM, we say customer experience, right? And when you look at customer experience, there's a lot of different things that someone can do, right? And you market to them, you service them, right? They have relationships with you. They call into your call center, right? And if you just think about the fact that you could have a marketing solution that might not be tied into the back end, you could have, again, a service solution that's not tied into the back end. You could have a quoting system that's not tied into the back end or still in Excel. But best of breed is allow for you to say, I have something in one specific thing that it's really good at. And nobody's taken away from the fact that they do that one thing and they do that one thing really well. But if you're not looking at the entire picture of everything you're doing associated with a customer, then things are lost, right? And if we all go back a little bit, I said I've been here 18 years, but we all can still think about, and it still occurs today, which is crazy. If you call into a call center and you've given somebody your information, or there's things that you've done, and yet you have to keep telling them about it. You have to give them the information again. They don't understand the history. They don't understand people that have been talking to them, right? And that's because of all those different channels, right? If one channel talks to one person, and here's what's something that's crazy, even for somebody like myself who has a bunch of salespeople. What happens to accounts that are big accounts that might have multiple salespeople and they cover different products? And so one of the salespeople goes in there to talk to somebody about something, and it's not their product, but the customer wants to know, and nobody ever gets that information because the person doesn't transfer it over because they don't care about it. It's not there, right? So having isolated, and when you go do best of breed, it just puts you in a situation where, yeah, it might be doing something from a smaller isolated, but not the overall big picture, and it impacts how you can support them from a real customer 360.
Yeah. Yeah. Sheldon, I'm curious, you're working with customers deploying these solutions. Are there capabilities in sales and service that you're bringing up on a project and the customer's like, wow, that's a game changer. We've never been able to do that before. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here. And just so the audience knows, none of this is pre-rehearsed. I don't give Sheldon questions ahead of time. And I like to surprise him. I'm not trying to stump him, but I just wanted to.
I would say mostly the integrations are definitely things that customers are really impressed on what the tools basically offer. Now with Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, if you look at the AI capabilities that the tools already have embedded, that's also a very incredible wow factor. We actually recently did a demo for one of our customers in SAP Commerce, where we enabled the CX AI toolkit, and just having the ability for you to take a picture of a product and then it searches for you on the web. I mean, these capabilities that are out of the box, because it's not like we spent a lot of time in developing these things. No, these are out of the box tools that you just enable for your customers. They buy AI units, right? And then you go and enable these features. I think those are really neat things that customers really appreciate of the product as SAP is, delivering more and more when it comes to AI embedded into their solutions.
I think the appreciation that I see, and I see that my customers see, is just the ability to say, how do we put you in a position to serve your customers better?
Yeah.
Right. And serve them in a way that they want. Right. And also make sure that you have the ability to show that I know you. Right. And when you say that I know you, that means that I know your history. I know the good and bad that we've worked through. I know where we've been successful. I know where we haven't, where we've had problems, and all of those things. And being able to do that and understand that such that we can now, again, serve you better, right? And put you in a position to be able
And
to
I was
do
going to
that.
ask,
What-
a question to both of you. Is that a capability? If a request coming into Service Cloud today, can I help the agent understand, is this a top 10 customer or a top 5,000 customer?
You certainly can, right? We have the tools to be able to provide the agent that information, right? With tools like CDP, where you're able to now track and look at all the history. Within even Service Cloud, you have that information of all the different types of tickets that this particular customer has opened. So the possibility of us being able to share all of this information when a customer receives a call, when an agent receives a call, it's already there and it's out of the box.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, I want to stick on this theme of not seeing the entire picture. And we've talked about the customer 360 view, but going back to that point of not seeing the entire picture, not knowing this is a top 10 customer. What are some, Melvin, as you're talking to customers, they're building a business case to go to S4, they're building a business case to go to Sales and Service Cloud. Can you maybe share any stories about, do you have any customers who might have shared cost of opportunity lost, or what do they feel like they're missing out on by having these disconnected systems? Do they realize they're missing out? I guess should be my question.
Well, I can tell you, absolutely, they realize that they're missing out on things. And we just had an executive session with a big utility company in New Jersey. And think about this. I want you all to think about this. In New Jersey, they have a law that says that before they can cut someone off, their service person has to go there, knock on the door, and let them know they're being cut off, right? So if you think about that for a second, in today's world, first of all, rolling trucks is expensive, right? It's always expensive to be able to go and roll a truck. But then you have to think about the safety factor associated with it. So you say, sometimes that could be really, really uncomfortable. But what was so important when talking to both their chief customer officer as well as their chief marketing officer was the fact that they have all these different programs that could help people who are in trouble. And they have the ability to help them long before they get to that point. But yet they struggle in being able to identify that. Now imagine the conversation that we had with them about an integrated system and the fact that you have people where you understand in the back end what how long they've been paying, where their payment history and what their tendencies tend to be, and they actually get incentives from the government to help these people. And just imagine if your service person had the ability, or even your salesperson, but had the ability to be able to identify that person and identify them before you get to the point that you have to be able to, where you're going to go cut them off, right?
Yep.
So it gives you the ability to say, you can be proactive, you can be positive, and have a much better experience with your customer, as well as lower your cost, because you're not sending people out there to do something that's negative. Instead, you're potentially doing something very positive, and it costs you less money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you retain a customer.
And then retain a customer, right? And your net promoter score goes up because the people aren't writing how much they hate you because you just came and cut them off, right?
Yeah. I want to share a story real quick
Yeah.
about a customer that is a industrial equipment manufacturer. They make machines that do belts and hoses. And talking about disconnected systems, they had a sales platform selling, and that would eventually make its way into an order into ERP. And once the order was shipped off, the salesperson really didn't have any visibility into how the machine was used, how often they were buying consumables. They were missing out on a lot of opportunities, or potentially walking into a customer's facility and selling them things they're already buying. And that integrated sales and service platform allowed that post-sale service to happen, the upsell. Also, I wonder if we could also take a minute, Melvin. I don't know if you've encountered any customers that may be changing business models now that are supported by SAP, meaning instead of selling widgets, I'm selling a service or a subscription to a product as opposed to selling the machine. I'm going to sell you the consumables and you're going to get the machine for free. It's a new business model.
Well, actually, we have one of my favorite that I absolutely love to talk about, which is Nestle. Nestle's one of the biggest SAP customers in the world, right? We do a ton of thing for them. Well, forever, Nestle was not a direct-to-consumer customer, right? They were not a direct-to-consumer customer at all. But for any of you guys who are coffee drinkers out there, they have a company called Nespresso. Nespresso is a Nestle-based company where it's direct to consumer, where it is efficient. They put it in place really quickly. They changed the business model to say, we're going direct to consumer. We have subscriptions. We sell them all the different products. It's hot and sexy. I mean, right? And they put that in place very, very quickly. So they literally changed the business model that now is extremely profitable and very, very current.
Yeah.
So it's the ability to be both, and that's what you want. That's the flexibility you want to have the ability to do. And I tell everybody, go check out Nespresso. You could go in there, you can do a subscription, you can start, you can stop. If you order something, you will get it in a couple days, right? And it is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. The subscription billing is a product from SAP that I think a lot of customers don't know exists. Obviously, you leverage, for the audience members here that want to know more, you leverage partners like VASS, you leverage SAP to get to know these products and these solutions. Meeting with your SAP AE is not a bad thing. That's how we find out about all the new stuff. And talking about new stuff, I want to pivot now to, all right, we've talked about the downsides of disconnected solutions. We understand that I don't think we need to hit it home. Integration is painful, and having a pre-integrated solution creates a lot of opportunity for us. But I wonder if you could talk about Cloud ERP and the premium subscription now includes licenses for Sales and Service Cloud. I mean, do you feel like enough people know about this?
I don't think enough people know about this, and I'm going to say something that's a little crazy, right? Which is, I try to get my team to not talk about pre-integrations, although pre-integrations are very, very important. But everybody says, I have an API, I have integrating, and they'll say, oh, I've integrated with this customer and all that kind of stuff. So instead of talking about pre-integrations, which are very, very important, what I'd rather talk about are what are some of the things that you can do because the systems understand each other and working together that you would not be able to do otherwise, right? So you said pre-integrated systems, right? I always talk about something that's been in place for SAP for a long, long time, and it's called available promise. Like if somebody's an SAP person, they know available promise, right? So the question becomes, if you have all these systems out there that are supposed to be integrated, and when things change, what happens, right? Versus if you have somebody like ourselves where it's truly integrated, and the ability to be able to say, and believe me, COVID exposed this for people like never before, where you have clients out there, we have a ton of them, where they have salespeople or service people, or they're going out in the field and they're doing things. But particularly if you have a salesperson out there and they're selling things where you didn't have the inventory.
Yeah.
And you have an SAP system where it has the ability to tell you what inventory you have available. They have the ability to tell you what's available, right? So think about when we share with people what an integrated system being. It's the ability to say, if you have a salesperson out there or a service person out there, the ability to know what is available or isn't. And also the ability to say, I think you said, who's a good customer versus not? How have they been delivering on their contract and the agreements that you have? Are they, again, at SAP, we go a lot by AR, and we have customers who, if they're way, way past AR, they get blocked. So could you have a salesperson out there selling something to someone where you have a block on it so you won't even take the order? Right? An integrated system, you have the ability to see that. And it's really putting them in a situation where they have the information that they need at the point that they need it so they can act on it and act on it properly, right? And that's what you want to be able to do. And then, of course, if you know the history, like if you have the ability to say they know the history because of all that back-end information, you can understand what they've bought. You can understand what might be other products that you could promote that works along with the products that they have. You also get to maybe if you have a client who's done a lot of returns or some of that kind of stuff, you get the ability to say, have a conversation about what's really going on so you can improve it. And so just getting them in a position where they have insightful information that they can properly act on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like that point.
What?
I really like that point, that the fact that you don't talk about the integration that is native, but you talk about how the processes facilitate their life by using a system like SAP and all the different components or products that SAP has to offer, right?
Mm-hmm. And one time, I'll give you another example, a really personal one that I find to be pretty amazing for another one of our big customers. But my wife, we use Verizon, and my wife was actually calling Verizon about her phone. She was having an issue with her phone. So she was calling Verizon, issue relative to her phone. And because of the integrated system and all the different things they have, I found it interesting that the link between their marketing system and their sales and service system allowed for them to know that in my house, we have we're older house, really weird, but we have 4 different Wi-Fi boosters in our house, 4 different ones, and they installed them and we pay monthly or whatever. So while they were on the phone talking to her about the mobile, they said, look, we realized that you have these old boosters that are 5, 6 years old, and we now have 3 of them that are much stronger, much better, right?
Mm.
And the person on the phone, when she finished the stuff talking about the telephone, basically say, look, our service person can come out and get this set up for you, right? Here's what it cost, and we'll add it to your automatic bill just like we do for all the other stuff that you do. And they basically said, would you be interested in that? Now, I ask any of you guys a question. Did my wife say yes?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Faster Wi-Fi
Right?
in the house.
But here's the point. She was calling about her mobile phone, right? An integrated system allows for you to do that, right?
Yeah, that prompting and alerting of that service agent, making that information available on screen. Sheldon, you've been working on Sales and Service Cloud for a number of years. Before that, SAP CRM. Can you talk maybe about or share a customer story about post-sales service and how these cloud solutions help customers? Like, is there a more tangible example you can share, kind of like what Melvin shared?
I mean, one of the customers that we're implementing right now, they basically are a manufacturer of toilets, and they have these washlets, right? That basically sit up on top of the toilet, so that you can go about your business in a very cool way, if you will. And what basically happens with these guys is that a lot of times, many times, when they perform the installation of these toilets, they do it in I would say in large installations. Let's say it could be a wing of an airport, or it could be a new building. So of course, when the end consumer comes in and purchases that unit or moves into that unit, they don't have any information about is that toilet or that washlet in warranty? Is it not in warranty? They don't even know anything about it. They just know somebody purchased it. It's there. I don't even know when this person moved into this unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now one of the things that we're trying to create is making sure that first, we through the contractor, we're able to gather the information as to which equipments have been installed in that particular location, right?
Yeah.
Something that was not really tracked before. Now we're able to know, okay, we know that these specific installations are associated to a specific job. And as different customers call in order to determine, that they have an issue with that washlet, we're able to not track only the information of our B2B customers, which is what they were doing before, which were the contractors and the installers and whatnot. Now they're able to capture the information of who the end customer is. And why was that important? It's going back to what you're saying, right? They sell additional components, right? At some point, the system that basically creates the air fresheners in the washlet are depleted, right? So now they have the information of that customer and are able to now resell or send notifications and information to them, so they're able to restock and install it under Washlet. So just by being able to capture the information of who this end customer is through this process, which they did not do before or know how to do before, now they're just opening up a completely new type of business where they're able to sell the reusable components of the Washlet, right? So I think that is only available in a connected system, right? And if you have the right processes in place in order to capture that data, that's really what's going to help you to now look into other business processes or business avenues, if you will, where you're able to generate additional revenue, which you didn't think you had.
Yeah. I want to, we're talking about this turning point of cloud solutions providing more agility, cloud CX, cloud ERP being pre-integrated. Melvin, you brought up the ATP, available to promise checks, and how I can have those checks executed when I'm in the field, when I'm working. I want to talk quickly about, when talking about these integrated systems, how does a customer fit BDC into this picture? All right, so I want to get to that customer 360. I maybe want to get to a vendor 360. You're telling me that everything in ERP can be kind of exposed to CX, and everything in CX could potentially be exposed. But how does BDC fit into this picture for the customers, for the audience members here that are joining, and they're looking at going to cloud ERP, they're looking at going to cloud CX. The BDC SKU was just released this year. How does this fit if I'm looking at both sales service and ERP? Where does BDC fit in this picture?
Well, first of all, there's nothing more important than BDC, right? When you look at all the things that we're talking about, especially when you, again, integration, it all comes down to data, right? And so for most of our clients, you'll find that they have in ERP, SAP customer, they have anywhere between 50 and 75% of their data is in SAP, right? So if you go back and you think about all these other systems, though, you might have sales system, again, commerce system, you have all these other systems. And if you were to think that they have 25% of the data versus, the 75 that's in SAP, what we're trying to do is show people that with Business Data Cloud, especially with AI, AI is only as good as the data that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the ability to be able to say, you'll be able to use SAP data and get insights off of that data, as well as, and that's whether you have ECC or S4 as you're trying to make that transition. So it's across that SAP landscape. But then also extending that further out into all of the CX products or all of the other products that we have for the line of business for SAP. And then with our relationships with BDC, with like Databricks and some of those guys, being able to extend that even further to some of your non-SAP data. So it's really the avenue to say, with Business Data Cloud, it's saying, here's all of this data that's there, that's relevant. And we're showing you how you can, again, act on it in a way that you can get the information that you want when you want it, and be able to leverage AI to ask questions of that data and be able to act on information from that data. So across your entire landscape. And people have been talking about this forever, right? But I think that at this point, so excited about AI in the business suite, with the foundation being BTP and BDC, to really allow for us to deliver that to all the solutions. So it's vital for us. And quite honestly, it really is the mechanism to say, here's how you can get the data that you need, and have an avenue to not even have to understand it all that much as understand what you want, to give you the ability to ask it, and it return it to you.
It's kind of like the cornerstone
Right.
in order for you to be able to do AI and have all the data in one place to train the AI accordingly in order for you to get the information that you're seeking, right? Yeah, it's a interesting point.
For the listener, I mean, a quick history, SAP had BW, and in 10, 15 years ago, when I was working with customers on SAP BW, you had an SAP data warehouse, and then you had an everything else data warehouse. You always had two. Traditionally, I didn't have a lot of non-SAP data in BW, and then I would join it somehow later in a graphical report, business object, something like that. Then we had HANA. I'm a big HANA fanboy, just to let everybody know. I bleed blue in that respect. I think HANA as a database is great. It was amazing, but it was a roll your own data warehouse. I needed to do some data modeling. Yes, I could replicate CDS views. Objects from SAP were provided, but I had to build my data warehouse. Now, what gets me excited about BDC is data products. SAP providing content as a service for me to use. Data products are essentially predefined models, data models that I can use, predefined reports with SAC, and that gets me excited. Sheldon, now question over to you on the CX side. What are the most common reporting requirements that you get when you're deploying Sales and Service Cloud? And do you think is BDC going to help you next year as you're implementing Sales and Service Cloud across customers?
I mean, most of the reports that we're looking at, I mean, of course, there's the embedded reports that the solutions already have, right? But the majority of the reports is reports that have to do with the combination of the sales or service product on the CX side, if you will, including information that is on the back end, right? Like, for instance, a good example is when you look at service, right? Typically on the service solution, the Service Cloud solution of SAP, you basically capture the ticket, right? But when you look at the whole process and how the process works, you typically go about and send that information into your backend, right? Because you want to track exactly, which products you need to potentially do an install or an uninstall, or you're trying to fix a particular product, and you're tracking all the information about the products, the different activities that need to be executed, how long that activity takes, information about, how long did it take the person even to get to that particular location in order to execute the job, if the product is under warranty or not. So all of that information is not sitting necessarily in CX. And when you want to look at holistically, how effective is my service department when it comes to, how much cost do I spend, right? Being able to get that data not only from the CX side, but look at the ERP and kind of like mesh it up together and kind of like run statistics to see how effective you are in delivering these services is extremely important, right? And that's where we definitely see that using BDC and being able to bring in the data, collect it together, using the different data models that are already pre-built, and now using SAP Analytics Cloud to generate these reports is going to be extremely valuable.
Question.
Can I add something?
Yeah,
to that?
please
go
do.
ahead.
Yeah.
So reporting is such a I always have a controversial thing talking
People
about
love
reporting,
their TPS report.
right? Because I was just talking to a CIO for a big company Monday, and we were having a debate about, because they're going from V1 to V2,
Okay.
and we were having a debate about his reports, right? And so I challenged them a little bit and say, well, why would you want to do your standard reports that you're doing as opposed to allowing for your people to utilize SAC or utilize some of the dashboards or utilize some of the AI and be able to get specifically what they want whenever they want it, right? So the ability to say, you just said about your service report, some of the stats or whatever, why not put your people in a position where we can give them insights and they can ask for that information whenever they want and it be current and accurate? So I challenge him to say, instead of saying, hey, somebody's going to get a report every day or whenever the frequency it is, why not say, empower them to get the information that they want whenever they want it and know that it's going to be delivered to them, because you have the ability to combine all that information, and that's what BDC is doing. So that's the challenge. I have said, get past the mindset a little bit. And I use, for everything that I do relative to this, I say, just think about it like your phone, right? Yeah. When you're on your phone, you're not getting a report. When you want something, you go, you ask it, and you get it, right? And it's the ability to say, that's what we can do for you, and that's what we can deliver for you now. The ability to say, if you have our CX along with the back end and all the things that are integrated, the ability to say, the information that's provided to that person on the end is not just that isolated portion that was a part of service. It's across your entire landscape for all the information associated with that person that you're dealing with.
For the audience members, reporting is such a funny topic. I remember watching a customer run an SAC report and then take a picture, a screenshot of it, and then put it in the PowerPoint slide. And I said, do you know you own Analytics Cloud for Office? and it's a plugin, and it
Yeah.
installs in PowerPoint. So every time you go to the slide, it's updated.
Yeah.
I don't need to have somebody sort of screenshotting.
Mhm.
But one feature that's getting me, and Melvin, please let me know if you're. I'm sure you've seen it. I wonder if you want to maybe talk about it. A lot of people talk about Joule, and Joule skills in S4 are very transactional, but everybody always wants the analytic version. Show me sales by territory by month. That's the Joule prompt that I want to write. And that's delivered, I believe, with Just Ask. Is that correct? In Analytics Cloud. I mean, is that something that demos well? Have you seen it? I haven't seen it. Joule has been talked about for SAP Analytics Cloud for a little while, but I don't know if you can talk about what you've seen on the inside about this this Just Ask.
Well, I'm way biased, so I can't, because I think Joule is spectacular. I actually do. Again, our internal, being someone who's been in SAP for 18 years, right? People have always thought that SAP was hard to use, clunky, complex, all those different things, right? Now you fast forward to right now with Joule. Joule is easy. If anybody knows how to go do something on ChatGPT, just think about being able to do that with your SAP system, right? That's what it allows for you to do. And it's really cool. Like, so if you go look at sales or service and the ability to say that you could use Joule, you could ask it a bunch of questions, it could help you prepare for your day, it could help you say what's the right thing to be selling to someone, and it's very specific to that customer. I believe Joule is a game changer for us because you no longer have to understand and think about specific things that you need to do in order to get an answer from SAP. You can go in Joule, ask that question, and get a response. And you can learn it very quickly.
Yeah, I think, and a lot for the audience and for the listeners, I think a lot of people don't know, and I'm gonna ask this question next about how do people find information. But a lot of people don't know that Joule is accessible in Copilot. And Microsoft and SAP have come together. They've created this integration. Anything I can ask Joule inside of a Fiori Launchpad, I can ask Joule inside of a Teams conversation. Going back to your story about ATP checks and salespeople needing to know if something's available. Imagine them doing that in a Microsoft Teams conversation now. Because we used to be so worried about deploying a mobile app for salespeople in order to get them information. And Teams is already, ubiquitous. So I think SAP's done a great job on that. But talking about finding out this cool stuff, can you talk about the Discovery Center? For the listener that doesn't know what they don't know, and they don't know what's available today from SAP, what's the best place for them to find this stuff out? I mean, obviously we want them to talk to VASS. Sheldon and I are happy to share a story, but how does somebody at their desk go and find this stuff out?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you 3 things. I'm going to start off by telling you this. The most frustrating thing in the world as an SAP employee is that most people know and think of us only as ERP as opposed to all the other things that we can do, like all the things with CX and all the other solutions that we have. So that's number 1. Number 2, if you're a golfer fan like I am, or NFL or NBA, or most likely you are not going to see an SAP commercial telling you about AI like ServiceNow or Salesforce. You're not going to see that. Unfortunately, that's our German company doesn't allow for us to spend all our money on that. We do some stuff with F1 and some other places, but you're not going to see it on a commercial necessarily, right? However, you can go to the Discovery Center, and there are various events like Sapphire or SAP Connect where you have the ability to go and learn more about SAP, and we want to make sure that we try to get as many people there as possible. And the reason why is because of this. I always say one simple thing. If I were to say to either one of you guys, imagine the box that you think about SAP, right? No matter what that box is. If we could get you to go to Sapphire or to Connect or even something like an NRF, from retail, what you will find is that if you imagine that box that I asked you to do, what we really can provide for you is 10 to 15 times larger than that. Like that box could be expanded so far that it's unbelievable. And so that's one thing. And then the next thing is our ecosystems with people like yourselves and with SAP Store, where we have 1,200 different applications. The ability to say that SAP is doing everything is no longer the case, right? So we have a lot of solutions where we really can come to the table and work with people like yourself and show them how there's a number of things that they could do to help solve their problem that really works together, right? So it's not all just SAP. And it's really important to be able to see that because we spend so much time with customers that have gone out and bought a point solution for something that either we have or we certainly have somebody that works really close with us and they could have done a rationalization and gotten something where they've gotten more benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean, just to share a story, I have a
What?
customer that they bought an analytic platform for pricing simulation.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, by the way, all these algorithmic models that this platform says it uses, it's all part of HANA. You already own it.
Yeah.
So, education is tough for the customer. People do need to invest time. When I talk to IT managers, I do say, you need to invest in a Learning Hub license, allow your people to get out there and learn from the SAP community, to know about all these different capabilities. In the end, it'll end up saving you dollars. So we started the conversation talking about siloed data, siloed service products. We talked about the ideal world, Customer 360, these pre-integrated solutions. I want to talk about the path to getting there for a couple minutes. So in terms of that path to get there, let's say they're coming from a non-SAP platform. Melvin and Sheldon, what are your thoughts? Can I retool a Salesforce.com person as a CX Sales Cloud person? Is that easy to do? How do those skills translate? I mean, what type of project team am I looking at if I want to get to this integrated sales and service with ERP?
Of course, there's a learning curve to learn the product, right? But the person already knows the process. And the process really is not that different in one solution or the other. You really understand the process, and if you're doing lead to cash or if you're doing service processes, those processes are not going to change if you go between one solution to another. So if you ask me, can you retool a person from moving from let's say Salesforce into SAP? Of course you can, right? Because the person has the key knowledge when it comes to processes, and then yes, they need to learn where to click here and there in order to now configure the new solution. And when it comes to end users, I think SAP, you guys recently purchased WalkMe, right? Which I think it's a great tool. We used it a long time ago for one of our customers prior to you guys, bringing them in. That solution already has a ton of information in order to also allow the end users, right, your employees, in order to use the tools, and it already trains you on what are the different things that you need to click. So doing the transition, I think, is something that I don't see as a blocker. If you're really
big risk.
It's not a big risk. If you're really thinking that moving between one solution to SAP is a big risk because retooling the personnel that you have is going to be complicated, I would say that you really need to look into the different solutions that SAP right now offers, and you should really focus on the process and not necessarily the tool.
Yeah, I would tell you that for us, our biggest challenge is now having people understand that we can make that a transition, and that we spend, I always say we spend billions of dollars on WalkMe in order to help people make it easy because it really guides you through how you do something and how you do a process. And I also always try to emphasize to people now, especially when we're talking CX, right, is the ability for us to do things in weeks to months where you could start realizing value and go along that journey where you're realizing value, getting value as you do things incrementally. And also when looking at the end users, like bringing over some of those end users, and again, it goes back to the conversation that we're having about what it means to be integrated, is finding those end users and finding things that they have in that current solution, but yet they still are struggling with certain things, right? And I'll use another client that was using one of the competitor solutions, and they actually had Salesforce and they had Adobe. But the way that they described their process and how they did certain things relative to data is the head of marketing said, well, I'm still data starved, right? And she still struggled with certain segmentations and all this kind of stuff because it was all okay when they were in their own little section. But the second they wanted to go outside of it, that's when they really struggled. So then what we did was show them how they could get to a place where that wouldn't be a problem for it. And the part that was shocking to them was that we said, well, we can get that done in like 4 months, right? They were like, what? She literally was like, what? Right? Because in her mind, it was, yeah, all the things you're saying make sense, but how long is it going to take us to get there? When we said we thought they could do this in 3 to 4 months, outside 5 months, you know what she said? Sign me up. I'll be first. Right? She goes, I've been struggling with this for years, 2 or 3 years. And if you're telling me there's a path that I could get to the things that I want based on things you've shared, so I think that that's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to show them, understand where they are, and understand the things that they might really like with where they are. But there's certain other things that they probably still want to be able to do or should be able to do that they're not doing as a part of their process. And then being able to show them how, if you were to move forward, you could get there and you could get those things in addition to getting there in a reasonable amount of time. So,
Like it. The next question, I'm going to start with some education for the audience, just so they understand. You know, SAP Joule is SAP's digital assistant, and SAP Joule, you have an instance running on SAP's BTP, and that single Joule instance connects to CX Solutions and connects to S4 and connects to Ariba and SuccessFactors. And so in a single Joule conversation, I can ask about data from any of these tools, right? That's the shared Joule solution. And my next question is talking about AI spanning the whole solution. And if I'm looking to implement CX, do I implement CX and implement my sales and lead to cash processes and then layer in AI? Or is AI part of the project team now? Is there a work stream? Is an AI SME part of every work stream discussion on the sales implementation that starts next year? Is it do it manually first and then add AI? What are your thoughts, Melvin?
well, listen, it's if Christian Klein was here, he would tell you about all of our embedded AI and the fact that you don't, it's not a two-step process. You do it right up front as a part of this and part of the planning. And again, we have a ton of embedded AI use cases. And what we want to do is spend time with you to understand where we could apply those use cases to incorporate it to what you're doing.
So when you look at how we are doing the implementations,
Right.
we're educating our customers as we go through, let's say, an explore phase. What are the AI capabilities that are already there in the solution?
Right.
And as we go and talk about the process and how to convert their business process into the solution, at that point in time is where we start capturing any type of requirements that we feel are going to be added AI capabilities that we would need to build, right? But that's the way that we're going about it right now. And in some cases, yeah, we have the time, and the customer has the need for that solution to be built, in the MVP. In other cases, we just park it and we do the MVP, and then we do a second phase and we bring in these additional features that we're discovering as part of the explore phase. So it's a little bit of a mix, but it's something that we're definitely discussing from the get-go. At least the way that we do implementations is we really try to look at the big picture.
Right.
We really try to understand where the customer wants to get to, and we might do it in pieces. But as we go through that process of executing in pieces to get to that end goal, we try to have that vision when it comes to not only the solution, but and the process, but also what are the AI capabilities that the customer might need. So that's the way that we're approaching all the time doing implementations.
Yeah, I think it's, for me as a technologist, and I'm part of these workshops with customers implementing new processes, I'm always looking for that swivel chair step in the process where they might be going from one transaction to another or one system to another. Oh, that's an opportunity for AI, right? Yeah. That's an opportunity for AI to take over that task, that you can dish that out. Now, talking about service, right? If you're a customer, an SAP customer, selling a service or selling a widget, you're going to have inbound email. And Melvin, we were grabbing coffee before the podcast, and you talked about CX AI Toolkit and processing inbound emails. I wonder if you could share that story for a minute or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that's just so simple, right, is all companies now get emails that come in, right? They get emails that come in, and so most companies they might have something there, but they have people there, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And we had a client where we were able to put our AI solution in place, and we put it in place in 6 weeks. and they have a large volume, like 20,000 emails they get a day. And we started off with that process, and we had started off with a 72% hit rate, and we got within 3 weeks later got it up to 97% accuracy, meaning it came in, they acted on it, and go. And so it's a huge hit, and it's also a situation that says, hey, listen, here's how you can take something that's, again, a routine, mundane kind of process, be able to use the AI and help bring more value to you. And everybody's always worried about, well, we're eliminating people. In their case, they didn't look at it and judge it as being able to eliminate people. What they looked at it and said, how many more cases can we now service faster, service appropriately, and make our customers happier because of how quickly we're responding to them, right? And so that's an example of something where, everybody's like, oh, AI is going to replace all the jobs because they have a ton of people who are sitting around on their desk looking at that.
Answering emails, yeah.
Right? But now think about it. Instead of them just reading the emails, categorizing them, sending them somewhere, those people are now being able to say, now once they're categorized for them, they now act on the ones that are more important or the ones that should be a higher priority, and then going and it, again, it's helping overall.
So they basically bring now business value just by doing something that would bring more value to the end customer instead of, routing emails like what they did before, right?
And here's his even better one
Which
too.
is-
Some of the emails that you get where people might be asking about stuff, where you now have more revenue opportunities, right? So it's doing more than something that it's mundane where it doesn't matter other than some categorization. You're sitting around doing that, but instead being able to initiate things that are more positive for your customer.
And for the listener, I mean, I think as people join and listen in today, they not only want to know how, but they also know how would or what you're talking about. They want to know how they can implement. I mean, this is now called Premium AI for Customer Experience. SAP loves a rebrand. It was called CX AI Toolkit.
CX AI Toolkit, yes.
Yes. And everybody here that's listening, Shud and I have implemented in this lab. We really did enjoy it. It was a sort of click and configure. There was no custom code involved. And this Premium AI for Customer Experience, in one customer, we were able to ground the AI in all the customer's product manuals. So as emails were coming into as service tickets into the service platform, the CX AI Toolkit Premium AI was grounded in all the product manuals of all the machinery and equipment, and now it can auto draft a response email to the customer with context about that specific machine, about the startup procedures in this case of a specific machine, so that a customer service rep can just review the generated response, maybe add a few details, whatnot, and hit send. So instead of them having to know, this customer has 900 products. It's impossible for a single customer service rep to know 900 products. And we all know how well SharePoint search works. So grounding AI Toolkit in those product manuals was a game changer.
Absolutely. And going back to the example I used before, another thing that was really interesting is being able to look at how they judge their customer service. And if an email came in, it was interesting that they had already tracked themselves that if somebody sent an email, it was a certain window, then they would send another email. But if they didn't respond appropriately after that second email, then they did the worst of worst, which is they would call in, right? So think about a company and the costs associated with one email, you're upset, and then you call, and now you have to deal with it versus it coming in, being able to automate, getting it done, getting the proper response and going back, especially for something where somebody's just inquiring about something that they should be able to get a really easy answer on anyway.
Yes, I feel those pains. Just being heard limits the frustration.
And just reducing the amount of interactions already is a game changer for them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we talked about repurposing resources on the project team. We're talking about implementing right now, right? And we're talking about implementing AI. And I think the general message is consensus is we want to implement AI alongside or with these process streams. We don't want to do a two-step. Is that the general consensus, gentlemen, that we're talking about?
Yes, 100%. And like we said before, I mean, it depends on where the customer is at in their journey, but it's definitely something that they should be discussing from the get-go so that they plan ahead as to where they want to be in the next few months, years, and so on.
Yeah. No, Melvin, the perspectives you shared today about the different customers you've worked with and the usage of AI and the usage of implementing these tools and the value of pre-integration was delightful. I wonder though, we were talking about a connected CX creates loyal customers. As we're wrapping up, or what are some other pieces of information you'd like the audience to hear about when talking or thinking about considering SAP CX solutions, integrating that with their cloud ERP solution, and their go-forward path? What are some closing thoughts you might have?
Well, I think it's really the simplest way to look at it is a true customer 360, right? So, what do I mean by a true customer 360? If you think about me as Melvin Powell interacting, so if I'm interacting with someone, I could interact with that person or that company in 4, 5, 6 different ways, right? And what you need to make sure of is that you truly have a real 360 understanding of all the channels, everything that you're interacting with, and then again, simply being able to act on it. And specifically for an SAP customer, if you have SAP ERP, our solution and the ability to be able to leverage all of that information that you have there and being able to leverage at the right point is what we bring to the table. No one else, like Customer 360 is a very, very popular thing. Everybody says it.
Everybody's been chasing
Everybody
it.
says it. And everybody's been chasing it. And the question becomes, and what we have the ability to do, and it's probably one of the, unfortunately, a best kept secret, but for CX, the ability to truly be able to deliver that to you. And it helps with loyalty. It helps with being able to sell more. It helps with being able to allow for someone to say, I can deliver this to my customer effectively, and it'll help us keep them as a customer. It'll help us service them better. And ultimately, that's what we have the ability to do. And we have the ability to do that better than anyone else.
I like
right?
it. I like it. So, Sheldon, I mean, the audience knows the value of Customer 360, but is it science fiction? As your parting thought, I mean, is this achievable in 2026?
100%. I mean, we've used CDP, my bad, in situations, for instance, in SAP Commerce, where that you typically have kind of like banners or information of recently purchased, or we would recommend you to buy this product because you purchased something else, right? Previously, a lot of that information that we were sharing did not take into account information about what the user has already purchased.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, today, because we have that information of the customer 360, we are able to say, okay, I'm not going to suggest these specific products because they already purchased them. I'm going to suggest another set of products because I know who the customer is. I know what they've purchased in the last X amount of months. And we're able to now do that, with the tools that we have at hand, with products like CDP, products like CX AI Toolkit, there's another AI solution that is available called ISS. I'm trying to remember the name and instead of saying the three-letter acronym, but there's different solutions within SAP that now allow you to do that, to take advantage of that information and being able to use it throughout the different types of tools.
I think.
I always
Go ahead.
I always just think about it like this. For me, I always love when someone knows who I am and treats you like they know who you are, right? And if you think about loyalty and you think about what people do for hotels, what they do for airlines, what they do, loyalty matters. And people will go out of their way to get their status and whatever. So you can't treat everybody the same. Anybody who says you treat everybody the same, they're making a mistake, right? So what we have the ability to do is show you how you should know who all your different customers are and treat them accordingly, but be able to have you make the decision in terms of how you're going to treat them along with your business, so that you can look at how you can target them and all those kind of things. We are the best at being able to do that. So when I think about Customer 360, it's under that context, that the ability to say, put you in a position to truly understand your customer
Mhm.
and everything associated about in your relationship, and then be able to decide on your business process in terms of how you want to further expand that.
Yeah,
Very well
what I
put.
like about these solutions as a technologist, and I'm coming at it as a technologist, is that I don't have to sling data across the internet to do this. Uh, data replication, making sure everything's in sync is a pain in the butt. You know, we want to be good business people. We don't need to be good. We don't want to be experts at slinging data. So I do enjoy these pre-integrated solutions and seeing them live and seeing them real. And I hope the listeners today understand it's not science fiction. It is achievable. We can learn more at the Discovery Center, and we can learn more from people like Sheldon and Melvin. So Melvin, thank you so much for being a guest today. On
No, it
today's
was great.
podcast.
I had a great time. Invite me back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheldon, as always.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Melvin.